The magic words.
These?
No! We say gross alert! This is not for the squeamish!
Now this is a pig stomach, but it's a lot like yours. Great, okay. So let's have a look. If I turn it like this, okay, this is the outside of the stomach. But this is where the food goes in. It's where the esophagus joins the stomach. So that is the gastroesophageal sphincter. Now if I turn it
when she was older.
Today, allegations of threats and intimidation carried out in the car park of a Northern Beaches supermarket. In his teenage years, a witness said he worked with the complainant, known as AB, and developed a romantic interest in her. Did you make it known to her you thought she was attractive? Oh yes. Sometime after unsuccessfully asking her out, he said he was accosted by Chris Dawson while collecting trolleys. He said words to the effect of, "Stay away from her, don't go near her." I was completely perplexed about what was going on. Chris Dawson doesn't deny the confrontation, but says it happened differently. What I suggest is he didn't touch you and he wasn't threatening in any way. Do you agree or disagree with that? Disagree. Dawson's accuser claims the two first engaged in sexual activity when she was his 16-year-old student, a criminal offence at the time. This week, one former student described AB as a playground celebrity who was constantly in Dawson's company. She was like his sidekick. It was like she was doing playground duty with him. Another witness, Lee Maloney, said she saw the two together in a swimming pool after fitness classes at a northern suburbs high school. Chris Dawson was cuddling and laughing with one young girl, and Paul Dawson was cuddling and laughing with another young girl.
The crucial issue in this case is not so much whether these events happened, but when. As many witnesses have pointed out, trying to pinpoint the exact date of something that happened 44 years ago isn't always an easy task.
Chris Dawson is already in prison serving a 24-year sentence for the murder of his first wife. Ruby Cornish, ABC News, Sydney.
Ukraine has accused Russian forces of blowing up a major dam in the southern part of the country that's under Moscow's control. Hundreds of thousands of residents have been told to grab essentials, their pets, and evacuate their homes. Europe correspondent Steve Kinane reports from the city of Dnipro.
Disaster strikes as the Kakhovka Dam is destroyed, and the floodwaters are unleashed across a war zone. The reservoir covers an area bigger than 2,000 square kilometres, and hundreds of thousands of people will need to be evacuated. Both Ukraine and Russia are blaming each other for blowing up the dam. The Ukrainian president has called it an act of terrorism and convened his war council. Ukraine has not confirmed whether it's begun the long-anticipated counter-offensive, but it says its forces have made some gains through Russian-held areas. In a secret location in the woods of eastern Ukraine, these troops are training for battle. They're learning how to clear territory mined and booby-trapped by the Russians.
People came to us, took away our houses, our territories, and they say, this is ours. That doesn't happen.
My house is under occupation. We are fighting to save the statehood of Ukraine.
When you talk to these soldiers, they tell you that not only are they ready for this counter-offensive, but they know what they're fighting for.
Shelling and strikes have also increased on the Ukraine-Russia border. Anti-Putin Russian militia have stepped up their attacks in the Belgorod region, forcing the evacuation of thousands of Russians from the town. Hundreds of children from Belgorod have arrived in Crimea, sent by their parents who suddenly have to protect them from the horrors of war. Steve Kinane, ABC News, Dnipro.
An Australian man accused of going on a drunken naked rampage in Indonesia's most conservative province has been freed from jail. Bodie Risby-Jones has been locked up in Aceh province for 6 weeks and was facing up to 5 years in jail, but he struck a compensation deal with his victim's family. Here's Indonesia correspondent Bill Birtles.
It's been a 5-week saga for this 23-year-old Australian, but tonight he begins his journey home. Bodie Risby-Jones had been staying at a surf resort on a remote island in the province of Aceh, which practices Sharia law. Local villagers put him under a citizen's arrest. They claim that he was running around naked on a rampage. Now, Bodie later claimed he was wearing underwear, but he did concede he drank vodka, which is strictly prohibited in that part of Indonesia. He was facing up to 5 years in jail, maybe even a caning, but he averted that by paying $25,000 compensation to the family of the main victim, a local fisherman who sustained injuries. That compensation deal has taken a couple of weeks to be approved by national authorities, but now we understand after being released, Bodie Risby-Jones will board an overnight ferry to the mainland of Aceh to a city named Mulabor. From there, he meets immigration authorities, does something procedural, and once that's finished, he's free to go. The thing is, getting direct flights out of that part of Indonesia is not easy, so it will probably still be a few days before he's able to get back home to Queensland and to see his family.
Nearly 80 girls have been hospitalised in Afghanistan after being poisoned at 2 primary schools in the country's north. Dozens of students fell sick with asthma, vomiting, vertigo and headaches. It's the first time this kind of assault has happened in Afghanistan since the Taliban returned to power in 2021 and barred girls from higher education. It follows the poisoning of 13,000, mostly female students in neighbouring Iran since November. The Panguna mine was abandoned 3 decades ago, but the damage it has wreaked on the island of Bougainville is still unfolding. For the first time since the facility was closed, the widespread environmental impact is being independently assessed by a team of scientists. PNG correspondent Tim Swanston reports from Bougainville.
High in central Bougainville lies the ruin of one of the largest copper and gold mines in the world. It was abandoned amid an armed insurgency and has fallen apart, leaving a devastating environmental impact.
Every single day is a challenge, and mentally I should say the future is always, unsure. It's always bleak.
Water that flows from the mine is blue from copper contamination. Locals say washing in the river gives them sores and burns their skin, while millions of tonnes of dumped mine waste builds up downstream, causing widespread flooding and polluting water supplies.
When we see that it is about to rain, we put out things to collect rainwater. But if we are late, there will be no water.
With farmland destroyed, villagers pan for gold. Families mine in the pit too, where they risk being hit by collapsing rocks.
The landscape has changed a lot, and our new generation, they don't know how the